I'm probably going to go off on this video, so just hang on. Got a lot on my mind, but look, we just received some additional guidance. I posted it on the 21st from the federal government. Supplemental fact sheet. I'm going to sit there and link it here. But there's a couple things that I want to review before I go into my disappointment with the public school response. Look, we're in this a week and a half, almost 2 weeks now. Now, I'm not talking about the school closure. I'm talking about having notice that that was the direction we were going. Okay. And the frustration for me is that I'm more than flexible. And I've encouraged all of my families to be more than flexible with the school system with regards to timelines and not being obstinate when the schools are requesting extensions to IEPs, things of that nature. I'll be the first one to sit there and say that this took everybody by surprise, and my encouragement to all families has been to temper their emotions and to be in control, and that we can work through this and we can be our own solutions. I believe that. So because I believe it, I even have reached out to professionals. I've seen people volunteering. I've seen things pop up where people are providing art lessons, dance instruction, specialized instruction, therapy online. Hell, I even saw where a strip club is now delivering food as a mechanism to make money, thinking outside the box. Now, do I think that's ridiculous? Absolutely, I do. But at the same time, if there's a strip club out there that has the wherewithal to think through this problem, to continue a cash flow in a different direction, you would think that all these intelligent people with master's degrees, the ones with doctorates that like to throw it in our face that they have doctorate degrees, could sit there and solve this problem of how to continue providing services to our good faith effort services to our kids, because that's all that's required. And I'm going to sit there and talk about this. But at this point, when I start hearing rumblings that we're just not going to do anything because if we do something, then we might be held accountable, I'll get to that. What a loser attitude, though. Loser attitude. Because you've already cashed the checks for the kids. You've already got the money. That money was budgeted and given to you back in October. You're all sitting at home. You're all still getting paid. To do what? And I'm not talking about the teachers. The teachers are sitting at home and they're waiting for instructions on what they need to do. I'm talking about the high-priced administrators that they're all still getting paid. But by God, the response that I'm starting to hear rumbling is that we're not going to do anything. They can't get us if we don't do anything. Okay. All right. We'll see how this turns out for you. But in this guidance, okay, first paragraph, last sentence, no one wants to have learning coming to a halt across America due to the COVID-19 outbreak. And the U.S. Department of Education does not want to stand in the way of good faith efforts to educate students online. Key word there is good faith efforts, okay? You're going to be given credit for good faith efforts. Now, what is it that the IEP team needs to do when you're reviewing evaluations? It's just good faith consideration, guys. That's what it is. It's good faith consideration. I think that word was purposely inserted in there, and I'll explain why I think that. But let's continue. Second paragraph. The department stands ready to offer guidance, technical assistance, and information on any available flexibility within the confines of the law to ensure that all students, including students with disabilities, continue receiving excellent education during this difficult time. The Department's Office of Civil Rights and the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services have previously issued non-regulatory guidance addressing these issues. Now, you continue. At the outset, OCR and the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services must address a serious misunderstanding that has been recently circulated within the educational community. See the rumors? As school districts nationwide take necessary steps to protect the health and safety of their students. Now that's key. So remember that, to protect the health and safety of their students, because that's sort of going to be the building block for later excuses, either used by your school system or used by the federal government in the near future, when everybody sort of decides how they water all this stuff down. Okay, they're going to be using that term, health and safety of the students. Now, many are moving to virtual or online education. Some educators, however, have been reluctant to provide any distance instruction because they believe that federal disability law presents insurmountable barriers to remote education. This is simply not true, and it's underlined. Pay attention, school districts. We remind schools they should not opt to close or decline to provide distance instruction at the expense of students to address matters pertaining to services for students with disabilities. Rather, school systems must make local decisions that take into consideration the health, safety, and well-being of all their students and staff. So there, once again, is the health, safety, and well-being. Prior to that, some school systems are providing distance instruction, okay? Some are already doing it. The prior paragraph. Good faith attempts. You see how it's all fitting together? Nobody's saying that this is going to be perfect, and nobody's requiring you to have it all figured out. But at least do something. And so when they're underlining that this is simply not true, and that they are reminding, the federal government is providing you a warning, people. I'm talking to the schools. We remind schools that they should not opt to close or decline to provide distance instruction. So that attitude of, if we don't do anything, now some may perceive this as contradictory to what I had said in a prior video. But understand, guys, that when that came out, what I was issuing was a statement saying that if they didn't provide services, or if they didn't mandate their general ed kids to go home and continue with instruction, then at that point, yes, it wasn't discriminatory. But I did that with the intent to sit there and urge everybody to just be patient. Let's err on the side of caution here and let this develop as far as our guidance and what we need to do. It was not by any means, and I've never held this position, that we should just not do anything, okay? If the strip club can figure it out, you guys can figure it out, all right? Maybe I should call that guy and ask him to help figure out the education system for us, and how you guys can just already use all of the stuff we have in front of us as a good faith, keyword, good faith effort to do something. Okay? So here is in bold, right? To be clear, ensuring compliance with the IDEA Section 504 and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act should not prevent any school from offering educational programs through distance instruction. Because what I'm hearing is, if we don't serve the gen ed kids, we don't have to serve the special ed kids. In this guidance letter, guys, they're not coming straight out and saying it, but don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Don't sit there and pretend like you don't know what they're saying. You already cashed the checks for our kids. You're all being paid. Our teachers are sitting at home wanting to know what they need to do. Lead. Do something. Good faith something. But doing nothing? That's not going to cut it. So it goes on later to sit there and talk about to be flexible, all right? Flexibility. Must remember that the provision of FAPE may include, as appropriate, special education and related services provided through distance instruction, virtually, online, or telephonically. It also talks about within here that they may need to work with the parent on compensatory services during this time. That doesn't sound like a federal government that's going to sit there and I know that what a lot of schools are doing is that they're hoping that this COVID-19 legislation passes with those provisions in it where they think that the education secretary, DeVos, is going to grant them all some kind of magic stay and bless them and absolve them of all of their responsibilities. And let me tell you what I think is going to happen, because I think something is going to happen with regards to limited waivers, because we've seen limited waivers before. 2009, 2010, the Obama administration had limited waivers when it came to monetary maintenance of effort, where the Obama administration allowed schools to cut their special education funding temporarily due to the financial crisis. Okay, so I'm not running around thinking the world's going to end because there might be limited waivers coming. But how I interpret this letter is if you give a good faith effort to try to do something during this time period, you guys might get a limited waiver. The school systems that stand up and try to be creative during this time period, I think that they would deserve a limited waiver and some considerations. But the warning, as I read it, and as I would support, is that those school systems that did nothing, the ones that took this attitude that we're just going to not going to provide services to anybody because you view special education as some insurmountable project, then you deserve everything coming to you. Okay? And I'll be more than happy to stand in line and check you every step of the way. Make your lives miserable. As miserable as you're making the families that I represent. I'm a parent too. My child relies upon these services. And I can tell you that parents of special needs kids, those with 504s, guys, I think we're fairly rational, reasonable people. We have to be. We have to be a little bit resilient in how we approach life because we do have special education or special needs children. And that's hard. See, we don't have the luxury of doing what you guys are doing and just saying, we're not going to do anything. See what happens. What an opportunity that you guys have to rise. To rise. To conquer this problem. But you guys did this to yourself by being so archaic in your delivery vehicles that now you're sitting there going, well, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to serve these kids. And if we don't do it, then they're going to have a FAPE challenge. Guys, the challenge, whether or not you provided a free and appropriate public education, is still there. You can't do a damn thing about the time period from August until school closed in March. That's still there. Can't do anything about it. The question is going to be the next few months where there's nothing. And all the Secretary of Education is saying here, and the guidance from the federal government, is that you give good faith efforts. Do something. Try something. And I can tell you that most of the parents that I represent, most of the families that are in my circle, I guess my globe that listens to the nonsense coming out of my mouth, guys, they're reasonable people. And they too will give you credit and acknowledge that at least you're doing something. At least you're trying. It may not be perfect, but partner with us. Talk to us. Guys, I'm not an ogre when it comes to the public education department. I sent an email out to all of the board attorneys that I interact with in Alabama, the only state I did that in. I don't think I included the other states, but in Alabama, I sent an email out to all of the board attorneys that I interact with various ideas, with regards to Gemini systems, and the deal that they're offering to make. to where, the schools can have this at risk of Gemini financially, to where there's no cost of to the school district. All the school district has to commit to do is submit it to Medicaid for potential payment. But if Medicaid rejects it, Gemini's already said we will absorb the risk. That is absolutely a full-fledged online platform, a good faith platform for our moderately to severely impacted kids with developmental disabilities. That could be specialized instruction. That could be some related services. And I don't know of a hearing officer out there that's not going to be flexible in understanding that as well. I don't know of a federal government in what I'm reading here that isn't going to chalk that up as a good faith effort. I already have multiple reading interventionists that they already have a business model that is online, that can do this through Zoom. It's already being done. Why can't your teachers do it? I already saw where Zoom, the CEO has eliminated time restrictions on free accounts for public schools. What is wrong with you people? But I have heard that in a lot of the places where we have a practice, that's the attitude. We're just not going to do anything. Shame on you. Because you cashed the money. You took our money. We all had to pay taxes into this big kitty. And you've already deposited the per student cost from this time to the end of the school year. And you administrators are not going without your checks. But yet you want to do nothing. That's the easy path, isn't it? I interpret this guidance letter in a very different way than some of you. And in fact, I encourage parents that if limited waivers are coming our way, if that is our reality, that there's going to be some limited waivers, and I don't think that I don't think they're going to sit there and deny FAPE and say, well, I don't think they can do that legally, quite frankly, because this is a civil rights law. But what they can do is they can sit there and be forgiving or flexible with some procedural stuff. And where I don't see them giving flexibilities or to the schools, local schools, and state governments, that their attitude has been to do nothing and to bury their heads in the sand, while the rest of us are trying to bust our ass, trying to figure out how we get through this without wrecking our economy. Isn't that just so government of you, though? Still getting paid, but then guys, you need to call your senators, your representatives, on this COVID-19 legislation, and you need to let them know that your input is that the schools, if they're going to do this limited waiver stuff, that these schools that aren't doing anything should be denied any kind of waiver whatsoever. I would support that.